because this is vitally important for you guys to see this at this time. Okay. I don't fuck around. Here we go.
You lie to a girl and she sleeps with you.
Sure.
Why aren't you a rapist?
Right? Why aren't you?
Is that actually what you wanted?
Is this not what Hafiz has been talking about lately? Is this not what that brother was talking about a couple of episodes ago? Is that not what he's talking about? Is that not what Matt is talking about right here? He just described this dude.
Right, because it's false pretenses.
Like if you could get away with rape.
Yeah, well, so then all of a sudden you don't have, well, maybe what you want in your soul of souls is, the sexual encounter you'd have in paradise. You want love, you want companionship, you want a maternal embrace, you want eroticism, you want deep personal contact, you want eye-to-eye communication. That's all part of this fantasy,
Bullshit. If that were part of the fantasy, if that were a fantasy, Jordan, if that were a fucking fantasy, you would think that it would trend much higher on Pornhub, don't you think? It would trend much higher than midget porn. It would trend much higher than interracial, cuckoldry porn. But that's not what people search for. Go to I don't have the stats here. Go to Pornhub, and not Pornhub itself, but the Pornhub blog. There's no porn on Pornhub's blog, okay? That's safe for work. But there are stats on there. And you know what one of those stats isn't? It's this. Oh, I want to look at this wonderful, in fact, what's funny is if that exists, it's niche porn. I want to have a woman and a wife who loves me, and we're gonna have this loving, wonderful porn sex, but it's all in the context and the pretext and the pretense of a relationship. But if you don't, you're a rapist. That's what he's saying. Exactly what he's saying here.
Then you deceive to get it, and then you get it. Well, no, you don't, because you're a deceitful rapist. And so what do you get? Well, you get the corruption of your soul and the contamination of the thing that you want and need most desperately, and that the entire human endeavor depends upon.
And yet we still don't want to hold women accountable, because remember, here's the fucking kicker in all of this, right? When women protest, or when men say anything about abortion, you know what's the first response? It's not get a vasectomy. It takes two people. Men are, in fact, I've seen protest signs about this already. Men are 100% responsible for every pregnancy, not 50%, 100%. Got it? If that's the case, then all these guys are rapists. They got what they wanted, and she has to flush the kid, and she has to make a decision. She has to choose because you forced her into that choosing. How come we can't separate the sex act from the emotional investment? You know why? Because we're men. Men don't have to worry about stuff. Well, we do, but we don't have to worry about that stuff like women do. Women lead with emotion. There's a higher reproductive investment cost for women than there is for men. That's why men can jerk off to porn, walk down the block and go get a big gulp at 7-Eleven and not think anything of it. That's why. The guys who are like, no fap, they just die from the inside from this agonizing guilt. You know why? Because they've been taught and conditioned by a gynocentric social order, by a blue pill that has taught them that there should be shame in them jerking themselves off. And you know what? They're going to keep coming back to it, because David Lee Roth said it best. Everybody wants some, and they will keep coming back to it. But we're going to hold men responsible for their sexual expression, for their want to actually get laid. And we already know that less and less of those guys are actually even getting laid. Don't believe me? Here we go. You want more stats? Here's your stats. Bing, bing, bing. Bam, bam, bam. There it is. What do you got to say about that, Jordan? What do you got to say about that, Matt? What do you got to say about any of this, about the stats? Because I got the stats to back it up. All you got is moralistic panic. All you got is old man angst is what you have, and including Matt, by the way. That's where this comes from. It comes from this emotionalist moralism. And I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just pointing out where it's coming from. Jordan has no business being in the giving anyone advice about how to find a good mate, how to have a good relationship. Okay. I got time on the clock too. I've been married for coming up on 26 years. Everybody wants to give me grief about being, you're married, so who would talk to you? Well, apparently if you're married to your wife as long as Jordan is, it doesn't matter what the background is. It just matters whether or not your cult is big enough to like fanboy for you long enough for you to get out of the hustle. That's really what it comes back to. How do I know that? Well, because of this video right here. Let's talk about this one now. Oh, let's go here. Actually, you know what? Well, no, I got to start with Jordan. Hang on. I'm not going to run Hafiz up the flagpole just yet.
I find the right person when I'm dating. How do I find the person who's right for me when I'm dating? I got the question like 3 times in a row, and I thought, because I always think this, what about that question? What's wrong with that question? There's something wrong with that question. How do I conduct myself so that I am the best possible partner? Now that's a whole different, right? That's a whole different conceptual universe. And
gotta love the piano going in the background here.
Say, well, if you want an answer to the first question, which is how do I find the person who's right for me, you actually start by asking the second question, which is what can I bring to the table for someone else? And if you're really good at bringing something to the table for someone else, hey man, people might be lining up to be your partner. And if they're not, then you might think, well, maybe I'm just not bringing the right thing to the table. And that's worth thinking, especially if you're desperate, you're lost, and you're alone. It's like, maybe I got this wrong.
But if you go after a chick, it's a waste of your time. If you go after a woman, if you're pursuing her, there's something you run the risk of being a rapist. So what is it, Jordan? Should we all be like looking for that one special person out there and trying to be the best we can be? Is that not like focusing on the idea of another person rather than focusing on your chase excellence, my young friends? Don't chase women, chase excellence. Oh, good. Now we can move on to this video right here.
Men are actively going out and trying to solicit sex with women. They don't realize you're wasting your time that could be invested in your purpose. You're wasting so much time that could be invested in becoming financially stable, becoming physically fit, becoming spiritually grounded and emotionally healthy. This is one of the biggest wastes of time that so many men are engaged in, and no one is talking about this.
So it's a waste of time for you to learn game. It's a waste of time for you to engage with women. It's a waste of time, right? So when you get to be, how old is he now? What, 31, 33? Yeah. And just now getting married and just now trying to figure shit out for himself. Yeah.
Nobody is talking about this. And all the guys think, oh, so-and-so is the man because look at all the girls he gets and he has hundreds of girls. He smashed 100 of girls.
Sound like he's pissed off at Andrew Tate. Hustler, how many people in the chat right now belong to Hustler University? Huh? How many? And I'm not shitting on Tate, but I mean, how many? Like, that's, you want to know where this panic comes from? That's where this comes from.
No man of value sees guys like that as the man. We see guys.
Man of value, another container word. Can we explain what value is? Can we? Because I doubt he could.
Like that is, Joe, you're wasting your time. You are highly inefficient.
No, you're not highly inefficient, Hafiz. You might be a rapist. You might, because you want to go and get what you want from women. You might be fucking them up for guys like you, right? Hafiz, how many men has your wife been with, right? I get that all the time. People throw that at me all the time. Rollo, how many men has your wife been with? Ha, you weren't the first, so therefore you must be a cuck, right? That they love to throw that one out there, like as if that's gonna make any difference, especially this. It didn't make any difference back in the 80s. It sure as shit doesn't make any difference back right now in 2020. But it's unfalsifiable. It's an unfalsifiable hack is what it is. And again, it's a little big head. Well, I wouldn't want to be like that Andrew Tate guy who just thinks with his little head all the time. I want to think with my big head. Therefore, I know that I'm not getting laid, but it doesn't matter because I'm focusing on my purpose. What is that? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm one of the lost boys. But when I do, I know I'll be ready. And then when I do, women will flock to me because they all flock to virtue, right? Because men can easily virtue women into bed. Bullshit.